40-year-old virgin who is desperate to get it on does everything he possibly can to finally have sex for the first time. Pretty straightforward, right? And that's why today in FlickSummary, 40-year-old virgin. Meet Andy, a dorky loner who rides a bike, has never had a girlfriend, never had sex, and you guessed it, he is our 40-year-old virgin in question. Judging by the way he looks, acts, and carries himself around people, it's not particularly hard to tell that our boy Andy is in desperate need for some action. Heck, even his elderly neighbors notice it.
That guy needs to get laid.
Tell me something I don't know.
To be honest, Andy lives a pretty average life. He loves to collect toys, is a superhero aficionado, and works at a tech store called Smart Tech, where he is an outcast among his peers. What is this, high school? Anyway, this is where we meet his co-workers. Jay, a womanizer with virtually no moral compass other than his… you know what. Cal, a misunderstood closeted novelist, and David, a heartbroken yet charismatic man who doesn't love his job all too much. The three dudes we just mentioned are planning to host a poker night amongst them, but happen to be missing one guy in order to be able to play. With no one else to invite, the co-workers resort to Andy, who gladly accepts the invitation as he partakes in a little online poker occasionally. Once their shift is over, the group gathers together to get playing, which, by the way, Andy absolutely crushes them. Eventually, they get to talking and relaying their past sexual experience and ask Andy what his craziest sex story really is, but as you can imagine, he isn't too thrilled to answer, leading the other guys to suspect that Andy might actually be gay.
Dude, it's not a big deal. You like guys, I'm cool with it. I got friends that guys in jail.
After quite a lot of insistence from the boys, Andy comes clean and confesses that he has never had sex, which the other guys see as an opportunity to help Andy finally get some, and he can actually live a little. The next day, while walking to work, Andy is anxious and embarrassed for confessing his virginity to some guys he barely knows.
If I keep my body moving and my mind occupied at all times, I will avoid falling into a bottomless pit of despair.
Scared that he might be teased for being a virgin, Andy preps himself to confront the guys if they something snarky.
You know, I may not have had sex, but I could fuck you up.
Once he gets to the store, his peers happen to be rather welcoming and nice, causing Andy's anxiety to deplete. That is, of course, until Jay becomes eager to get our boy to finally lose his V-card. I swear this like Superbad, but with adults and legal alcohol this time.
Stop it. Get some help.
Feeling humiliated, Andy runs over to the break room as David quickly follows, trying to convince his brand new friend that they don't mean any harm and invites him for a cup of coffee, which he agrees to. Andy then explains that every time the opportunity made itself present, something would happen that completely ruined the mood for both parties, and from then on, he just stopped trying.
That's rough, buddy.
David then opens up to Andy as well and tells him all about the ex-girlfriend that broke his heart and cheated on him. Our boy David gives one final try at inviting Andy to party with them this weekend, and much to his delight, Andy accepts.
It's party time!
The weekend rolls around and Andy and the boys are trying to get him to score, while Jay gives him some less than ideal advice.
Believe it or not, in every man there's a code written that says, tackle drunk bitches.
Yeah, that didn't age all too well, did it? Originally, Andy rejects the idea, stating that it wouldn't feel right, but peer pressure gets to him and he decides to hit on a girl that can hardly stand, and much to his surprise, she reciprocates.
You have really kind eyes, you know that?
Thanks. Your hat is sequins.
Eventually, they set off to do the deed, but the drunken girl is unfortunately the designated driver, seeing as Andy doesn't know how to drive just yet. Andy hangs on the edge of his seat while the drunken lady drives carelessly until she ultimately throws up all over him. And once again, the mood has been killed for Andy. Lesson learned, don't try to hook up with drunken women. It is not okay and they might throw up all over you.
Don't do that.
Back at the office, Andy is upset at his peers for making him try to get it on with a drunken girl. But they blame him instead, telling him that he should go for drunken girls that are actually able to stand. Again, very dubious advice.
Don't do that.
At the store, Andy meets a girl named Trish, a charming woman who apparently has a business that sells your stuff on eBay. She even has a store too, which is kind of confusing, I have to say. The two get to talking quite a little bit and Trish gives him her business card, telling him to call her whenever he feels like it. Now that's how you get a lady. In celebration, the group heads out to grab some drinks and get completely plastered and start doing all sorts of drunken dumb stuff.
I can't.
Do it.
I can't be in public.
Gotta do it.
I've got a mental block about it.
Come on.
Yup, sounds about right. Seeing that he may actually have prospect with a lady named Trish, Jay tells him that he needs to groom himself a little more so he can actually appeal to other people. Cal then goes on to tell Andy that he should sleep with someone before sleeping with Trish, so he can be a little less mediocre the second time around. Still, pretty bad advice, but whatever. The group takes Andy to get his chest waxed, and well, let's just say that Andy doesn't have the time of his life over there.
Oh, you!
Poor guy, that must be painful. Andy decides to quit halfway through the waxing and angrily heads home, upset that he couldn't get done with it.
I can't do it.
We return to Smart Tech, where Cal recommends Andy to flirt with a girl at the library across from their store. As it turns out, Andy manages to charm the girl with some smooth tips that Cal gave him as he proudly leaves the library. That same night, David heads on over to Andy's place and gives him his collection of erotica films, so he can have an idea of what happens during sex. Oh, and just so we're clear, David's collection is a whole box filled with VHS and DVDs.
As if.
Seriously, that thing is stacked. Andy tries watching it once he's finally alone, but realizes that it just isn't the thing for him and abruptly stops. We cut back to Smart Tech, where the boys have decided to set Andy up with some speed dating type thing, and as you may have suspected, it doesn't go all that well. Let's just say that his best bet was with a girl that doesn't even like girls.
You're a good-looking man.
Thank you.
Very pretty. Real soft, delicate features. They're good for me because that would be a simple sort of transition.
He finally has had enough of trying to have sex with girls at random and realizes that he needs a break from pushing sex to happen, especially with girls he doesn't even like. So what does he do, you may wonder? Well, our boy finally asked Trish out. And guess what? She agrees to the date. Score for our boy. Yes! Yeah! Andy tells the boys the good news and they all head on over to his place to spend some time and chill out for once. Thank God, I was starting to think they may have a drinking problem. Anyways, David, who is still heartbroken over his past girlfriend, decides that he thinks celibacy is the way to go, which Cal thinks is just a subtle way to tell the guys that he's gay, which David quickly rebuts with,
You know how I know you're gay?
How?
You like Coldplay.
can't argue with that, I guess. Andy and Trisha's date rolls around and everything goes smooth like butter. He makes her laugh, she makes him laugh, and everyone is just having a blast, which is a nice change to see from the partying. Seeing as the night has gone so well, Trisha decides to take Andy back to his apartment so they can get it on.
This is the happiest day of my life!
While Trisha changes in the bathroom, Andy struggles getting a condom on, unaware of its mechanics and how it actually works. In fact, he even plays a little with them.
Oh, wow. You gotta be kidding. Oh. I am Aquaman.
However, things go south quickly when Trisha's daughter shows up at the house unannounced, interrupting the whole evening for the couple.
What's going on here? Who the hell are you? It's Andy!
Hi, I'm Andy.
And yes, we're just as shocked as you are over the daughter. Frustrated and with nothing else to do, Andy leaves the scene.
Life is pointless and nothing matters, and I'm always tired.
Thankfully, the pair has decided to clear the air and give each other a second chance, as Trish explains that she has 3 daughters and even 1 grandchild, which, yes, is unbelievably shocking. Andy tries confessing that he's actually a virgin, but he can't get the words out, especially when she asks that they take it slow on the physical part.
Cool. No doubt. Good rule, no sex, good rule.
Trying to see how much they can hold out without sex, they agree to get it done on the 20th date, much to her surprise. Trish takes him back to her apartment yet again, but this time he actually meets 2 of the 3 daughters and everything goes great. Back at work, Andy's boss, who constantly hits on him, wants to know how his dating life is going, and without skipping a beat, asks if he is still, untouched.
Are you still a virgin?
Oh, I don't really talk about my personal life.
You're a virgin.
Yes, I am.
Well, that was awkward. Anyway, Trish and Andy's relationship goes better than they ever expected to, with Andy getting along just fine with the kids and accepting him into their lives. Finally, the 20th date arrives and Trish is just about ready to pounce on Andy, who still feels wildly unprepared. He accidentally offends Trish and angrily leaves the house, calling the boys to party so he can drink his problems away.
Why are you the way that you are?
Almost immediately, Andy is completely drunk and blabbering about the complications of having a grown-up relationship, but he isn't able to articulate it all too well. At a bar, he sees the girl from the library he flirted with not too long ago and gets an instant invitation to her apartment without so much as a greeting.
So, you think we should take this party to my apartment or what?
Oh no, don't do this, Andy. They head on over to her place, start making out, and are on the verge of finally having sex. Before they actually do anything, the girl invites Andy to the hot tub as she touches herself with a shower head, which makes Andy rather uncomfortable.
Well, this is awkward.
Much to his relief, his friends have shown up to the rescue and tell him that it's not right to cheat on your girl, making Andy instantly quit his actions.
Oh, thank God.
Ah, what a relief. Andy heads back to his place in hopes of apologizing to Trisha the following day, but as it turns out, she beat him to the punch and finds her at his apartment. However, she found Dave's erotica stash and thinks that Andy might have a screw loose in the sexual department.
It's not what it looks like.
He attempts to explain, but she's just not having it, leaving the apartment as he chases after her with his bike. Unfortunately, he gets hit by a truck, which makes Trish stops in her tracks to check on him, which is when he confesses that he is anything but a sexual weirdo.
I'm a virgin.
A what?
I'm a virgin. I always have been.
Phew, he finally got that out, didn't he? Sometime later, the couple has a wedding ceremony where they celebrate their romance till the end of times. They head on over to the hotel room where they plan to consummate their marriage. And finally, our 40-year-old virgin has finally done it. What a ride, huh? And that's all for today. 40-year-old virgin in a nutshell. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this movie, and as always, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and share it with your friends. See you next time!